let's go to something that you can predict, and that's whether or not you're going to buy a car. Let's invite into the stream Micaiah Roorson. He is the CEO of Prodigy. And to give you an idea of what this company does, they refer to themselves as the Amazon.com of cars. But it's not just buying the car, it's everything from start to finish. And does it also include the insurance, Micaiah? Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me. It does now. What we do is we enable dealerships to deliver a full online checkout for car buyers. One of the themes that you'll probably see recurring, you've been seeing it, is the way retailers are adopting and changing their business due to COVID-19. Dealers are no dummies. They sell over $1 trillion of cars a year. And when this COVID-19 change affected their business, they immediately started embracing online sales. We're seeing online sales up 250% this year. And yes, our platform enables all of that, from selecting the car, customizing your payments, now all the way to, yes, getting the car insurance you need to drive off the lot.
Micaiah, what do you see going forward, just in terms of, we've seen such a huge jump this year? How much of that do you think is sustainable looking ahead to next year?
Well, so we started the company 5 years ago because there was early indications this was coming. You see similar companies, Carvana, Shift, Vroom, now all public companies, where it started with the same sort of mindset and looking at the same data that we were looking at, saying online car sales is coming. And this is way before COVID-19, obviously. So for me, in the way that we've seen the data, COVID-19 seems to be a tipping point for online car sales, but it's not just a temporary moment in time. Online car sales is now a consumer behavior, and I think it's here to stay.
In regards to the dealers, do they find their margin getting squeezed, or is there still the dickering that goes on between the client and the seller?
Well, our dealerships certainly try to avoid any dickering during the car sale. But what our dealers find is that it turns out when you make the car buying process smoother, when you allow the consumer to see transparently what's going on, they don't mind the dealerships making a bit of profit. When I buy this MacBook that I'm talking to you on, Apple makes a tremendous profit, but they make it so easy for me to buy it. Dealerships see the same thing. Their grosses are higher than ever by selling cars online and actually putting consumers in control. And that was something that, frankly, surprised me. And I'm the co-founder and CEO of the company. We never expected that, but the consumers are more than happy to pay for this experience.
Speaking of the consumers, who is the most likely to buy a car online? Is it what we would think? Is it the millennial generation, younger generation, or are people who are in the older generations maybe open to doing this?
You would assume, as a millennial, I would assume it's me and all my friends buying cars online, but you're really seeing it across the spectrum. Who's actually most likely to buy a car online is someone on their phone. And so obviously web traffic now is higher on mobile devices than is on desktop devices. Online car sales are also higher on mobile devices. And to me, that just signals that consumers have developed a level of trust where they're willing to complete a $30,000 transaction on their phone. And that's across all age ranges, all demographics.
I will tell you, from the older demographic, there's a lot of fun. I've purchased cars online. I've done it through eBay and through different websites. And I do enjoy the negotiating process, because that's just, the online auctions do very well. But it's not just the United States and North America where you're doing this. You're doing this, what is it, 4 continents? Where do you see the greatest growth?
So certainly the US is leading the charge in terms of the adoption of online car sales. But you're seeing this, like you mentioned, China is seeing huge adoption of online car sales. We're seeing it roll across Europe as well. And so this, US is sort of leading the charge in this, but we're really seeing this become a global movement.
What are people buying? What kind of cars? Is it the SUVs? Is it the trucks that have been popular when you take a look at the car giants here in the US and what they've been selling recently?
Absolutely. SUVs are, always the category that sells the most, but we're seeing even higher SUV sales now during COVID-19. I can't say that's because of online car sales. I think it's more of a trend where consumers are saying, maybe I don't want to cram into a small car. I want something I can take for the weekends, have a getaway. But yes, online car sales with SUVs, we're seeing 49% of cars sold are SUVs.
Do you get pushback from the likes of, say, a Tesla, of an Elon Musk, who they just want to do it all themselves and not, they cut off perhaps market, but not include someone like you in this process?
I think for dealerships, we allow them to deliver the experience that the consumers want. So if the consumer wants, they can buy the car totally online, never talk to a salesperson, get that full Tesla-like experience. But maybe you want to look at a lease payment and say, should I do a lease or a finance on this car? And that's where we build systems like live chat, video chat, where the consumers can get the help they need, but only when they want it. They're not pestered as they're doing their online car sale.
But as I pin down on this, I don't think Tesla has dealerships per se, the way that, for instance, GM licensed the dealership to a Buick woman or man who's going to sell you the car on your site, or do they?
They don't. They have showrooms, and they will sort of walk you through the car and show you the different features, but you're really buying the car online from Tesla. We think that's actually a disadvantage. Sometimes you just want to sit in the actual car you're going to drive off the line. You want to connect your phone to the Bluetooth, have that emotional experience. And so for us, we think about online car sales not as maybe an end goal for all consumers, but for many, it's a starting point, and they still end up going in store. And our system helps them in store as well to buy the car, but they can still start online and finish in store.
How does your system help them in store once they're inside the dealership?
So if you walk into a dealership that we work with, you'll think you're in an Apple store. Every salesperson actually has an iPad, and it will pick up right where you left off online. So you'll see the same payments down to the penny. All your customer information is there. And so you can actually start online, come in, test drive the car, and sign digitally. You can also start in store, go home, and finish online. So we really focus on what's the best consumer experience. And for us, the best consumer experience is letting the consumer buy the car when and how they want to. We don't try to force them into, say, online sales or in-store sales. We support both really seamlessly.
A lot of the money's made, though, through the dealerships or the financing. Do you have any role in that? Do you have partners who do financing? Because you could score big. That's a big part of it.
So we help the dealerships in two ways on sort of the financing side. First is what's called F&I products, so extended warranties, how you're going to protect this car, are you going to get gap insurance? All of that is actually presented through our system, again, both online or in store. And then we also help them facilitate the lending process. So we have a lender network that we can actually connect consumers with, hopefully get the dealer involved, but also get the consumer a better rate. So we really try to have this holistic view on what can we do as a tech company to help dealers give the best customer experience.
Well, new car inventories are low. You're in touch with these dealers. You're talking to the dealerships. When is the expectation that it's going to return to those more normalized levels?
That's the $1 trillion question, really. The supply chains we've seen are so unpredictable. If you look at COVID-19, you're having second wave lockdowns, and that affects supply chain. Also for the used car side, consumers are still trading cars in, but they're buying more new cars. So there's a used car drought as well. The inventory challenge is arguably the biggest challenge facing dealerships today. When COVID first hit, everyone worried, would customers buy cars? Yes, they're buying cars. Yes, dealerships are adopting. It's really the inventory problem that I would say is the biggest challenge. And unfortunately, I don't have an answer for that. If I did, I'd probably be much richer. It's a real challenge, and it's just so unpredictable with the way COVID-19 is affecting these different countries.
Oh, I think Rick Ocasek and the cars, when they're saying you might think, I think they might think you're going to be a very successful and wealthy individual. This is a great business idea. Micaiah Roberson, Prodigy CEO, thank you for joining us here at Yahoo Finance.